If it becomes too dangerous to eat, then 1 billion people lose access to their principal source of meat. Will humanity ever have faced a more serious public health crisis? Even if removing all animal protein from the diet of 1 billion people only killed 1 in 10 of those people or hastened their death, it would still rank as more devastating than the plague, the Black Death is what I'm talking about, which is believed to have hastened the deaths of about 75 million people before it was finally conquered. The poisoning of fish offers an opportunity, an opening that could prove useful for trying to achieve a change in whaling. It is straightforward to understand why one should eat healthy food rather than poisoned food. The fact that the whale and dolphin meat that Japanese children get in their school lunches now is too contaminated to eat safely probably offers an easier legal route towards stopping whaling than claiming that the number of whales the Japanese whalers are taking is unsustainable. In spite of the seriousness of pollution in the seas, until 2 years ago, no one had measured how polluted the oceans actually had become. Principally, I suspect, because doing so is really a daunting task. But now it's been done, and I'm proud to say it was by my Institute Ocean Alliance that it did do it. That's where Ellie worked when she was with us. 10 years ago, even though I could think of nothing that would interest me less than driving around the world and stopping at every sperm whale to take a skin sample with a biopsy dart, I could see that unless my institute took such a step, that no one else was likely to do so. So I decided that Ocean Alliance would make a voyage around the world in our research vessel, the Odyssey, and after more problems than my life expectancy allows me to time to relate to you, we raised the funds, set out, and finally achieved it, returning home after 5.5 years with 950 tiny samples of skin and blubber obtained from sperm whales in every ocean. We used a biopsy dart to get our samples, often with absolutely no visible reaction from the whale. We also brought back a mass of other data, but there's no time to even discuss that now. I reasoned that if we could find out how polluted ocean life already is, we could use that information to start an international movement to address the problem of cleaning up the seas, the ultimate goal of all of our work. Although we have not managed to find the funds to fully analyze the samples we brought back, we have nevertheless made several surprising discoveries. However, we have analyzed a subset of them, and the results show that most adult sperm whales are seriously contaminated with a variety of persistent organic pollutants, and that all sperm whales have significant concentrations of endocrine-disrupting chemicals in their bodies. These chemicals never existed before, so when we find them in a whale, we know that they were made by humans. There's not any doubt. How did EDCs become a problem? It's an old story. We looked for effects over too short a term. For decades, we used things like DDT indiscriminately, welcoming it and its chemical cousins into our lives. But by the time we began to measure the long-term costs, our lifestyles were so tied to the benefits of these new wonders, in quotes, that we ignored the risks and resisted removal of the causative agents. As we had expected, mercury contamination was present in sperm whales. In fact, we found it present in all the sperm whales at levels above, in some cases far above, what the US government considers to be a health hazard in human beings. But mercury is not the only poisonous metal present in sperm whales. We found these whales to be contaminated with several poisonous metals in all areas of the sea, the most significant of which is chromium, a major carcinogen in humans. The analysis of our samples was carried out by Professor John Wise of the Wise Laboratory of Environmental and Genetic Toxicology at the University of Southern Maine, the university that's apparently visiting here this week. Dr. Wise created cell lines from skin samples that the Odyssey crew collected from 4 sperm whales. He created cell lines. That means that he actually took the cells that we got in the sample and got them to grow on a culture, and now you can make 1,000 dishes of sperm whale cells and then test them with various chemicals. We measured the impact of contaminants on sperm whale skin cells grown in culture in 2 different ways. One is cytotoxicity. It's the concentration it takes to kill cultured sperm whale skin cells. The second is genotoxicity. It's a measure of what concentration is required to damage the chromosomes in cells that are dividing. The Food and Drug Administration of the United States employs the same genotoxicity assay that we use to measure damage to chromosomes from the chemicals it tests to see if they are safe enough to release to the public. Chromosomes which look superficially like the letter X may show damage as a break in one or more of their arms. a loss of a section of a chromosome, or as fusion of two or more chromosomes. A gap in the chromosome can reflect the loss of hundreds of genes. In laboratory animals, chromosomal damage is known to be the cause of sterility, fetal death, physical abnormalities, and cancer. There is increasing evidence that it also is a cause of neurological disease and immune system problems. The synthetic chemicals we tested for in our samples can damage chromosomes and cause these health effects. This is just to remind you that all of the effects of chromium on people have been known for many years. The film Erin Brockovich featured the story about the effects of chromium on people. This is a picture of a sperm whale underwater. It's the subject of our study. This is the Odyssey, seen here a year after a refit which followed her successful circumnavigation of the world to collect biopsy samples from sperm whales. Here's an Odyssey crew member who's out on the tip of what we call a side spread. It's a long platform that sticks to the side of the boat, and he's about to shoot one of these darts from into the whale, which is right next to the sperm whale. It's a reaction. The whale's reaction, as I mentioned before, was usually nothing. This shows, on the left of this slide, you see the diagrammatic representation of one of the samples that we collected. You can see the skin is black, the blubber is white. In the middle, we see the pattern of cuts that we used on each sample, divided into 7 different bits, which were then preserved in different ways to enable several different studies to be done. Those studies are referred to in letters. This is the most interesting. It shows that 35% of cells exposed to only 10 micromolar sodium chromate is, and this is a chrome compound, show very significant damage to their DNA. You notice that every single one, 10 micromoles is what it takes. Then look in the column in the middle, you see tissue level that we found in these whales, everything from 24 all the way up to 539. So the least polluted whales with chromium are twice as polluted as the United States government has determined would hurt your health. And finally, I wanted to say the levels of chromium we also found in sperm whales' skin cells are the same as the levels that are found in the lungs of industrial workers who have had 20 or more years of exposure to chromium through working in factories where the air is so badly contaminated with chromium compounds as to give those workers lung cancer. But in those cases, they died of lung cancer. That's how they were examined. So the bottom line of what we have discovered is that sperm whales, living as far from continental land masses as it is possible to get in this world, therefore nowhere near rivers that are polluted with industrial sources or wastes or agricultural chemicals, these sperm whales are nevertheless contaminated with chromium as badly as workers who have worked for 20 or more years in chromium industries and who died from lung cancer that was the result of that exposure. The worrying part about the results we've found is that because sperm whales feed about the same levels of oceanic food pyramids that we human beings do, humanity appears to be in danger of losing access to many species of ocean fish, the apex predators, as I mentioned, as they become too polluted with persistent organic pollutants and poisonous metals to be eaten safely. And we must not forget that the oceanic fish we like to eat most, the swordfish, tuna, sharks, mahi, marlin, bluefish, striped bass, and so on, are all apex predators. We must not only work to end the meteoric rise in whaling, therefore, we must also work to persuade government fisheries departments to require their fishers to use gear modifications to keep whales from becoming entangled, and at the same time we need to work to stop the entry of poisonous materials and endocrine-disrupting chemicals into the seas. As I see it, we also need to work more with businesses, because conservationists and businesses share many of the same goals and want to be able to benefit each other. I've long felt that there are probably as many people of goodwill in major corporations as there are in Greenpeace, and that given the scale of environmental threats, the way forward is not through confronting each other, but through finding ways to move forward with business as a part of the solution. Ever since I started working on to save whales, I've felt that it was essential to find a sustainable role for whales in human economy. It was clear to me that those in business would know how to achieve that better than I did. So I spent a lot of time working with business people to spawn and develop 3 new industries: whale watching, whale recordings, and whale films, and each has proved to be very successful.